Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today I want to talk to you about whether narcissism is a choice or not. This is something many people wonder about, so I thought we could address it on the show today. The simple answer is no, not really. People who are pathologically narcissistic don't really feel that they have a choice. This is what they know, and it's all they know. It's kind of like if you'd been taught to walk on all fours your entire life and suddenly somebody said you had to walk upright. Not only would it be super difficult and feel completely unnatural, but never having learned how to do it, you might not even be capable of doing it because you have literally grown into the way you learned. You would have to relearn how to do everything from an upright position, and that's if you were even able to stand. However, before this could even be attempted, someone would have to convince you that the way you're getting along should change, even though you believe it's not only correct, but that it works for you. However, whether they are capable of changing their thought processes and reactions or not, the way narcissistic people behave is a choice. This is an important distinction to make because many people jump to the automatic assumption that if one is out of someone's control, both of these things are, and this is not the case. Most narcissists are capable of self-control even when they get really angry or upset. Their self-control is just usually dependent on external factors. For example, many narcissistic people may not be in the position to change or control the paranoia or self-hatred that causes them to feel inappropriate fear and anger, but they can control themselves from attacking others or being violent because of it. We know that because they will control themselves if they feel like they have to. So while the cause of their feelings may not be something they can control, their reactions to these feelings is something they can control. With the overwhelming majority of narcissistic people, we don't see this supposed out-of-control behavior until they're in a situation where they know they can get away with it. Therefore, it must not be that out of control, right? The question is, why are they making the choice to behave the way that they are? The answer to that is that it works for them. Narcissism is a network of defense mechanisms, and the behaviors associated with it may appear offensive, but in actuality they are not. They are defensive. You might say, well, how is it defensive when the victim didn't even do anything to them? Well, you say that. You say they didn't do anything. Because of their self-hatred and failure to be perfect, narcissistic people are very afraid, almost paranoid, that they will be exposed, seen through, and rejected for their failure. They see signs of that rejection everywhere. They misinterpret things in this light through this angry, frightened lens, and they assign motives to people that people don't actually have. Consequently, they believe they're being mistreated. If by some miracle the narcissist actually does concede that the victim hasn't done anything to them, the justification is usually that they will if they get the opportunity. So the narcissist is still just protecting themselves. A big part of the pathologically narcissistic person's behavior also has to do with projection and venting. They may not be under attack from you specifically, but they are under attack internally. For the majority of narcissistic people, their self-talk is abusive, malicious, and exceedingly negative. They are hearing that 24 hours a day, and their only relief from that is to turn it against somebody else. They don't feel that way about themselves. You feel that way about them. They're not worthless and awful. You are. They're not flawed, broken, and crazy. You are. They're not vindictive and selfish. You are. This looks like an attack, but only because you can't see the thing they're defending against. However, it's still no excuse for this behavior. Hurting others because you are hurting is not okay. It is the only way they know of to get relief, though. It's the only way they can feel powerful or worth anything. It works for them. That's why they do it. Narcissistic people are basically locked in survival mode. They have been for years, often since childhood. Everything they do is done to protect and defend their existence. All the abusive behavior, all the manipulative things they do, all of the deception and the fakery, these are survival mode defense mechanisms. Every day is an exercise in just surviving and getting their needs met. They don't seem able to move out of this defensive, reactive way of being. Everything is just a reaction to a perceived overall attack on them by a cold, uncaring world that will give them nothing but abuse and misery. They are scraping by with what scraps they can steal or squeeze out of other people. Someone in this mode is not behaving rationally, which is another reason why it's so hard to get through to them. They can't hear you over all the panic alarms going off all the time in their head. Even those who seem stoic, cold, indifferent, unemotional, they are generally experiencing this type of internal reality. They've just learned that not showing emotions is safer and easier. This is another way their behavior works for them. It gets their needs met in the short term, and in a survival situation, the short term is all you're looking at. When you're in survival mode, you can't look at next week or next month or next year. You can't look at long-range goals or changing behaviors over time. You can only look at right now. You have to stay ahead of the pain and the shame and the danger and the fear and the need. You have to constantly watch for anything that might hurt or upset you. You have to defend against all the potential threats, and they are everywhere. You have to stay perfect and actively deny all evidence to the contrary. It's a 24-hour-a-day job, and there's no time for anything else. Ever. In the end, it's probably most accurate to say that narcissism is a choice somebody doesn't know they're making. They don't realize there's another way to be, and they don't have time to learn anyway. Even if they did, why would they when it works for them? Why walk upright when the way you've learned works just fine? It seems harder to us, but that's because we have experience that they don't have. Sadly, pathologically narcissistic people will often never see that there's a better, less painful way to do things, a way that works out better in the end. But whether or not they have a choice, you always do. There's never an excuse for abuse, and you can choose to stop the insanity. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online and over the phone Monday through Friday, so if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can go to littleshaman.org and click the Book an Appointment tab to go ahead and do that, or you can use the link that's available in the information section of this video. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.